Oh, this is going to be very hard on my stomach. This is going to be very hard on my stomach. Guess what? That soap that you bought for the dishwasher? Yeah. Did you buy something new?
I don't know.
No, because this is really working well. Everything is just much more shiny. Liebchen?
You
Yes. It's very shiny. Okay.
Good. I'll see you.
Okay, can you be nice to me and informal?
Yeah.
So you got everything out of the way that you were supposed to have to gotten out of the way? You wouldn't have done it without me, would you?
No.
So am I a pest or what? Pet?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Okay. I'm a good influence, right?
Right.
Yeah, I thought so. You know what? I think I'm going to be sick after I've eaten this. I can feel it. I'm taking already all kinds of, and I'm not going to have anything more to drink. I think some wine. But the beef is really hard on me. I didn't put it up. But I thought it was a pretty large one, and I could have. It's 7 o'clock already?
6:49.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to talk to them. I'm done with all this noise. have too many, we have too many dishes.
Happy birthday, Fred.
I'm with you.
I said happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Thank you. They're getting to be more and more precious as they get older and older.
No, you're just getting younger every day. That's what we're doing. We're all getting young. We're having a celebration later tonight, Fred? Or?
Well, we had a little celebration before I got on this.
Oh, okay.
My wife made a birthday dinner for me,
Nice.
just the two of us.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with the virus and all of that?
I understand. It puts the curve.
My girls are coming. They're going to be here Friday and Saturday to celebrate.
Nice,
So
nice. So the whole week is a birthday week. That's nice. Yeah.
They're both coming from Texas. So
Austin or Dallas? Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio?
Austin and Houston. I have a daughter who lives in Houston.
Oh, nice.
She's a big shot at JP Morgan Chase.
Oh, very good. Good to know.
Yeah, she's a healthcare specialist. And my other one sells like hell for Dell. That's what we call them. And so they're both relatively successful they're not young ladies, women now. They're both in their 50s. So.
Well, they're taken after you, right? You had an amazing career so far, right? And continuing to have.
Hey, Vin, when did you mention about the colors in your background?
I'm sorry, I mentioned that at the outset of the meeting actually yesterday.
Boy, I missed that.
Yeah. So green, yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means please stop. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's a great way of doing it.
Yeah, except that some of us are challenged on colors. I was planning to have something written in the back saying green, but I didn't get a chance today. Just been rolling from one Zoom meeting to another.
I suggested like a buzzer when there's 10 seconds left.
Yeah, I'll do.
Some people got cut off like in the middle of a sentence. I just feel bad for them.
Okay, I'll do that. I can do a buzzer for 10 seconds. Hey, Don.
Hi, Don.
How are you guys doing? I am mute first.
All right.
No, we can hear you, Don. Don, you're used to taking videos of our meetings, right?
Yeah.
You must be missing that camera button here.
Well, I guess everybody misses the in-person part of it.
Well, this is the best we can do at the present time. So.
Yeah, that's
Welcome,
right.
Jenny. Welcome, Jenny. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, Kristen.
Along that same line, I just finished organizing a conference. I was general chair, and it was, of course, all on Zoom and Slack, and it went extremely well. And I would say that we have learned from this, and next year's, even if it's physical conference, will be hybrid. And there's something I think that we in the Democratic Club could take away from that.
Certainly, we're all.
Get started slowly here as people continue to join. Welcome to the Silicon Valley Democratic Club. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that this meeting is recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please turn off your video and mute yourself. You can also let us know, and we will ensure that you are not presented in any of our sharing of the video. We do post the video on Facebook afterwards for our members who are unable to attend. I'll go ahead and post the link to our agenda in the chat. I'm sure everyone is, oh, did you beat me to it, Jeff? So Jeff already beat me to it, but I'm sure we're all familiar with Zoom, but just in case you're not, you'll see the buttons at the bottom for chat and participants are the main ones we'll be using tonight. They will open up a side panel. Please feel free to use the chat for discussion throughout this meeting. We do encourage that. And Jeff has helpfully posted a link to our membership page. In order to vote, you do have to be a member in good standing. So if you have lapsed dues, please renew if you want your vote to count. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now. Just to give you an overview of our agenda and our process, for each candidate, they will have 1 minute to introduce themselves, followed by 3 minutes of audience questions, members' questions, and then 1 minute to vote. Tonight, we will be using Zoom polls to vote after each race is considered. In the agenda, there are several useful links. This link here will take you to the registrar of voters where you can see all candidates for each race. We have invited only those who have chose to participate in our endorsement process by filling out our questionnaire and verifying that they are registered Democrats. The links here will take you to the same spreadsheet that shows the responses to our questionnaire. The spreadsheet has tabs at the bottom here, so you could go through and read each candidate's responses. And so first I want to follow up on our previous meeting on Monday. Jeff has created these slides for us to show the results from our election. We do tally the votes afterwards because we want to verify that everyone who voted in our Zoom poll is in fact a member in good standing. And on Monday, Rebecca Armendariz won the club endorsement by receiving 2/3 of the membership vote. And in addition, Reed Lerner was endorsed for Gilroy Mayor and Alex Lee for California Assembly District 25. We also had a couple a resolution and a bylaws amendment, which both passed with 100%. So with that, we can go ahead and jump right in. I think we have both Larry Klein and Nancy Smith here who are running for Sunnyvale Mayor. So we'll start with Larry Klein. You will have 1 minute. Vinod is going to be our timekeeper this evening. You can see with the bright green background, that is good to go. At 30 seconds, he will turn it yellow, and when it turns red, that means stop. So you'll have 1 minute for the intro, and then we'll pause. We'll go to member questions for 3 minutes, and that'll be time. Okay. So Larry?
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to speak. You know, these are difficult times for so many people. The pandemic really puts life into perspective. You know, as Sunnyvale's mayor for the last 20 months, you know, I've dealt with the challenges of hate crime, the current pandemic, and of course, racial unrest. You know, I've worked tirelessly to build, you know, our diverse community, make our residents and small business feel safe and supported during very trying times. You know, I'm proud of my record of success in making Sunnyvale more livable. You know, I pushed progressive values, added housing, improved transportation, bike ped safety, helped revitalize our downtown by finally making Murphy Avenue a pedestrian-only zone, and worked to protect our most vulnerable community. For the past 4 years, I've worked to educate and listen to hundreds of residents in my weekly office hours. And I've worked to make Sunnyvale's voice, more regional. And I've raised that voice. As the next mayor, I pledge to continue that efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you would like to ask Larry a question, please use the raise hand feature. You can find that by clicking on participants at the bottom of your screen, which will open the right-hand panel, and you can click raise hand. Or if you prefer, if you're having trouble with that, you can also just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
I could have a quick question, maybe some more detail on your housing plans for the homeless.
Sure. So when I first got on council, one of the things that I did was work with both Supervisor Smidian and Cortese on extending our what was then a cold weather shelter to a year-round shelter. And so now it's basically a trial program was put in place, and now that's been extended. From my standpoint, I've been working with our Sunnyvale Community Services to get appropriate services and food to our homeless community, and also basically working directly with the shelter, especially during COVID, and trying to make sure that they have everything that they need to survive. I think from an affordable housing standpoint, it's critical that we continue to build as much housing as possible. And as mayor, I pushed through an inclusionary ordinance for all rental housing that 15% of all new apartments have a very low 5% and a low income component. So, it's creating additional housing, which I've been working on, throughout my time on council and before 9 years on the planning commission. And then, trying to make sure that we have appropriate, support systems in place from a food standpoint, from a housing standpoint, and then working with, Downtown Streets team to try to get, the homeless back into jobs and getting into that regularity.
Jenny, could I ask a question? I'm sorry, I can't see the timer.
I couldn't see the timer either, so I just cut.
Yeah.
Can you see the
Mr.
timer?
Mayor, I can't see it.
I didn't see it now, but oh, there it is again. Okay.
If I could just ask a quick question, Mr. Mayor. My work is with tenants these days, and trying to sort of avoid evictions and protect them from some of the things that landlords are engaging in. And Sunnyvale is notoriously lacking tenant protections, such as just cause or any significant rent control. What's your position on those policies, and would you agree that there's work to do in Sunnyvale in that regard?
Absolutely. So from the policy standpoint, we kicked off a housing study several years ago, and then of course our city manager left, which caused multiple issues as far as getting that to completion. But one of the main focus, one of the main things that's covering is rent stabilization in our mobile home community, which is definitely a large percentage. We have 400 acres of dedicated mobile home land in our city. And then, from a rent standpoint, for apartment dwellers, one of the things that we did was, of course, last year when the state's just cause legislation went into place, it didn't really suffice. And so what we did at that point, one of the things I pushed through was coverage between October and December. And then as far as just cause, definitely, I think that that's a requirement, although, just cause evictions as well as the option for leases. So having an option for a lease for every apartment that renter that's there.
Larry, thank you. We ran out of time.
Okay, sorry.
All right, thank you, Larry. We're going to move on to Nancy. Nancy, if you want to begin with your opening statement.
Sure.
And sorry, real quick, if you have trouble seeing the note, you could switch to the grid view which will get him in the picture.
Okay. Thank you. Our city is facing uncertainty. This year with COVID-19, many of us have had to care for a parent, our kids, even ourselves under really trying circumstances. And when even strong, healthy people strain to stay here, it's especially of a concern to think of the difficulties vulnerable people face. So many in our city are struggling to stay healthy and calm and fed. My qualifications for mayor are that I view the whole of what it means to live here, and that I'm the person most ready to pull us all together and help each other overcome our challenges. We are a city with people of all income levels, ages, many cultures and ethnicities, people who have it pretty easy and people who are having a hard time. My vision is that we need a Sunnyvale that's livable, sustainable, and a Sunnyvale for all. People come first, and that's why I'm the people's choice.
All right. So if you would like to ask Nancy a question, please raise your hand. And if you have trouble with that, go ahead and unmute yourself to ask. Michelle?
Thanks very much. I was wondering if you could talk about your support, what you will do as mayor to support victims of domestic violence and victims of sexual assault.
Sure. One thing that I have done recently is, well, firstly, I'm, as the only woman on council, unfortunately, maybe a more women's agenda hasn't necessarily been something I felt empowered to do, but I have worked with Next Door Solutions to Domestic Violence to get them connected in the community and to get them some grant funding. And they have established some programs through Sunnyvale Community Services. And we've, as council, have been supporting Sunnyvale Community Services. And I would really like to work with the public safety department to ensure that they get the proper training to deal with domestic violence cases, both you know, including for LGBTQ plus communities as well. I think that I spoke with the Office of the Status of Women in the county and learned that the #1 issue for women in our area is domestic violence. And I do think Sunnyvale could do more and be more intentional about addressing it and being open about it. I don't know if you remember, but Sunnyvale has had 2 instances where we've made national news because of domestic violence. One was an Apple executive who beat his wife. She recorded it, and the tapes of her abuse were played nationally. And the other one was when one of our canine police officers was stabbed to death during a domestic violence assault. So Sunnyvale is not immune to domestic violence, and we need to face it with directness and, you know, not tolerate it. So I'm very interested in doing more to bring it to light and to help us mitigate it, eliminate it.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So regarding issues like domestic violence, are these, if there's like a 911 call, are these addressed by armed policemen or by social workers?
We don't have a community response team like some cities have. I have looked into that. And I think we have been having some listening sessions with the police after the Black Lives Matter movement. And one of the things that came out was the issue of how people in the LGBTQ plus community are not comfortable calling Sunnyvale police because of the interpretation that it's not a domestic violence incident. I personally think that sending armed police to domestic violence is not always warranted. Clearly, there could be more options to have others support teams go out and address it, like some other cities do with, I forget the name of it, but there are other options, and I'm hoping that the council will look at it when the police bring forward their proposals.
All right, thank you. That brings us to time. I know it's very short. I apologize for that. There was a question in the comments about endorsements. Larry Klein posted his website link for endorsements. I posted yours since you were still speaking, so that is there for anyone interested in reviewing. We are going to go ahead and launch the Zoom poll. This will be open for 2 minutes. I will pause the agenda for 1 minute in case there are any questions about taking the poll, and then it will be open for another minute as we continue. All right, next up we have Leah Melman for Sunnyvale City Council District 6.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and to participate. My name is Leah Melman. I am running for Sunnyvale City Council representing the newly created District 6. This is my first foray into actually running for office. I have been serving, presently vice chair of the Sunnyvale Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, where I've been for a little over 2 years now. Other than that, my public service credentials are actually more at the federal level with disaster response, having been part of 2 federal disaster response teams, one in Southern California when I lived in San Diego, and the DMAT CA6 up here in the Bay Area, as well as CalEMSA teams in my capacity and my profession as a nurse. At present, I've been working in the pharmaceutical industry for the last 15 years in many positions, which would be too numerous to mention. So I will refrain from doing so. But the reason why I'm running for office is, you know, I'm a child of you know, very involved parents in terms of the fact that they were both educators, and being a child of the 60s, as it were, we always thought that public service was, you know, part and parcel of being a good citizen. So I view running for public office as part of being a public service. And I realized that if I wanted to see the changes that I thought would make Sunnyvale, which is a good city, an even better city, and to be able to address the crises that is occurring now and which will be coming to the future, and also to see the betterment, the general civic betterment of the city, that I was going to have to step up and step out and actually run for office, which is what I am doing now.
Thank you, Leah. Your time is up for 1 minute.
Thank you.
And we'll open it up to questions. Since we don't have any immediate questions, would you like to finish what you were the end of that?
I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing that nobody has any questions for me? All I can express is my sincerity for wanting to you know, give of myself for the betterment of you know, of the city. And hopefully that, you know, I bring all my varied experiences that I've had in my lifetime, you know, to the fore to, you know, not only help my district, but also help the city as a whole.
We also have a question in the chat. How long have you been a resident of Sunnyvale?
I've been a resident of Sunnyvale for over 14 years. I actually, I live in one of the mobile home parks along the Tasman corridor. And the reason why I'm in a mobile home park is because when I moved here, I had the sticker shock of not wanting to spend $500,000 on 850 square foot of condominium. So the mobile home made the most sense, so. What experience do I have for the job? I see is a question that came up. Well, what specific experience are you looking for? I'm used to, I have dealt with crisis situations. Like I said, I've been part of federal disaster deployment. I've been in public service in various ways, whether that was volunteering my time in free healthcare clinics or assisting, you know, disabled persons to learn how to swim. You know, I'm part of the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, so I volunteer my time there. I am a bicycle advocate, and also in serving on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, because I thought that was a good place to start and something that was important to me as a former and someday future, again, bicycle commuter.
Can you share who has endorsed your candidacy?
I do not have any specific endorsements from, you know, supervisors or specific members other than the chairperson of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, Richard Mellinger. I do have a dual endorsement right now from the Sunnyvale Democratic Club and also from the Silicon Valley YIMBY group as well. And I'm actively seeking endorsements elsewhere.
All right, with that, there's time. We'll go ahead and open up the Zoom poll. You can find the agenda for this meeting in the chat. I know we're going through these races pretty quickly, so you can reference there to follow along. Okay. Next up, we have Sergio Lopez for Campbell City Council. You'll have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Great, thanks everyone. I wish we could be meeting right now at the Campbell Community Center and wish we could all hang out there. I'm sorry we can't. I'm running, I grew up here in the community. My parents are immigrants and I grew up working class, and I first got engaged on local issues and in public policy over 10 years ago when my family lost our home and small business during the Great Recession. That led me to realize the importance of having a voice and of bringing others along with you. So I've worked in public policy ever since, from the local all the way up to the national level. And I'm running because of the same issues that first got me involved. people are worried about being able to stay in their homes, or our small businesses are scared that they might not be able to keep their doors open. And we need a progressive and active leadership on our city council who's going to champion these issues, and who has the relationships to really get things done and be engaged. So I look forward to that. I look forward to working with this club and to your questions, but I'm ready to get to work. So look forward to taking your questions.
So Sergio, is Carol Hoffman is your only opponent, is that correct? And she's an independent or a Republican?
She was a Republican after and has voted in every Republican primary. After she filed papers, she switched to no party preference. And I received the county Democratic Party endorsement as the sole Democrat.
Are there any questions for Sergio?
Yeah, I see Christian's question. The most in terms of long term and short term, we have to make sure that our small businesses are supporting. We really have not had active engaged leadership at the local level. There's been a disconnect between the decisions rolled out, and I see the role at the local level and the opportunity as being, as the most local level of government, of communicating what the county mandates are and being engaged on those issues and relaying that information back. So even just as a candidate, I've used my platform. I've held workshops with State Treasurer Fiona Ma for small businesses. I've paid to install automatic hand sanitizer stations downtown around our small businesses. I've organized grocery deliveries to seniors. So I've been engaged on these issues. And then in the long term, like I pointed to, it's addressing our housing crisis. Too many people my generation can't afford to live here. This is a welcoming and family-oriented community, and when candidates are willing to have the courage to make the case, their support for building housing where it makes sense around transit, and so I really look forward to engaging on those issues in particular.
Any other questions for Sergio before we vote? I think many of us are familiar from seeing you at a lot of our meetings. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the poll. Okay, next we have Joseph Ryan-Freund for Cupertno City Council.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is J.R. Fruin. I am a third-generation resident of Cupertno, and in some extent, that is effectively the reason why I am running. Saying that is virtually impossible today. We make returning to this city exceptionally difficult. We charge our own kids effectively a return entry fee of a $3,000 a month rent or a $400,000 down payment on a $2 million single family home. And it creates a community that ultimately is unsustainable. If you can't have your own kids come back, if young families can't move in, then we wind up turning ourselves into what is in essence a retirement community that plays host to the largest corporation on earth by market cap. That seems like a wrong-headed way of designing a community to me. When I grew up here in this town, it felt like it had a stronger sense of community, if only because it was a mixed income a set of neighborhoods that was more racially diverse at the time, with racial minorities who are effectively also priced out at this point.
JR, we are out of time. Take questions.
Pardon?
We are out of time. You 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Take questions.
Happy to have them.
Michelle?
What do you plan to do about housing in Cupertino?
So we have a marvelous opportunity that's coming up here, based primarily on the fact that Cupertino will receive a very large RENA allocation. That RENA allocation has to go into places that are likely to actually be built out. That probably means that we need to put them in places that are closer to jobs and closer to opportunities. So that's going to be along Stevens Creek Boulevard, along De Anza Boulevard. It will make the community more equitable. We have the chance in the course of that to help broaden our tax base to support CUSD in particular, which is an LCFF district. It needs to become basic aid in order to be able to be sustainable in the long term. And we can reimagine these areas as more walkable, more bikeable, and transit oriented so that folks don't have to use a car in order to get everywhere. So that's the primary focus that I would take, is honestly addressing our housing needs and using the RENA process to our advantage.
Okay, next we're going to go to Michelle.
Hi. Did you apply for the Democratic Party endorsement?
Yes, I did. I am the sole endorsed candidate of the county party.
Oh, great. Okay.
And we have a question in the comments from Kristen Lynn. Besides housing, what else is on your agenda?
So I have two other major points on my agenda. One is COVID response and economic recovery. That comes in sort of two parts. One is ongoing support to our small businesses through the form of loans and direct financial aid in order to keep them afloat during the crisis. And then on the flip side, to incorporate exactly how we manage to support these businesses moving into our new housing element, so that we can try to create more mixed use development where they can be sustainable in the long term. The other is really governance issues. We have a serious governance problem in Cupertino. It's really, frankly, unacceptable that we have, a mayor who jokes about building a wall around the city, a planning commission chair who makes comments to the effect that we should study the sexual proclivities of Apple employees with regard to housing in an EIR. That seems to me to be totally inappropriate and a waste of public resources. These are not things that we should be doing. Everybody deserves a voice at the table. And we need to be able to preserve that for the future.
And in the last few seconds, you do have a question about how you plan to support schools, specifically teachers who can't afford to live in Cupertino.
Yeah, so to support the schools, like I said, if we honestly address our housing crisis, LCFF, so the local control funding formula dictates that for Cupertino Union School District, that they're paid on a per pupil basis. That makes it very, very difficult for a district like this one that is suffering from ongoing declining enrollment. By building more housing, we can help solve that problem. By building anything, we can help expand the tax base. I also support Prop 15 for that same reason. It will help districts like mine to get through a crisis like this one. And then you said there was a question about teachers specifically.
I'll go ahead and stop you there because we are out of time, but I do appreciate your ability to condense quite a bit down in this very short time you've given me. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
And we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom poll. Okay, we're going to move along to the Los Altos City Council District 4 candidates who have filled out our questionnaire, starting with Scott Spielman.
Hello, and thank you for giving me a chance to talk about myself. Let me see if I can get my video on. Okay, we're there. One of the reasons I got very interested in filling out your questionnaire were the questions that you asked. They are important questions, and I think they are applicable to every political party, and I think particularly in our day and age to all of us. Renewable energy, transportation, the issues of sexual abuse, sex trafficking, affordable housing, and budgeting. You know, our city faces those, and I think they're very important. The other thing that I found attractive about who you are as a group is that you ask, your issues are all very relevant, and you entertain people with varied perspectives, but that there's agreement with most of what you have to offer. And so I am an engineer. I'm a business person. I've worked in Silicon Valley for 13 years. I've spent 40 years in Los Altos, and I want to contribute to the well-being of the city. I think I have the personal qualities, the interpersonal skills, and the business background and the engineering background to contribute to many of the issues that we face today.
For questions?
Thank
Yeah.
you, Scott.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Please raise your hand, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question.
I have a question. Can I go? Jenny.
Go ahead, Michelle. Yeah.
What's your position on Prop 15 and Prop 16?
I haven't decided to take a position at this point. I am reviewing those at this point in time.
Okay, well, I could just, you know what they are about?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not sure if you're going to support ending a ban on affirmative action in California?
Well, I think that is a very complex issue. And the reason I think that is I think affirmative action is important, and that we need to promote those that have less opportunities. The writing of that bill is a little bit complex, and I'm still studying to see if it works. My tendency is to think that affirmative action is still important, and that my tendency is to want to support it, but I want to go further before I make a final determination.
And you're not sure about the Prop 13 split roll either?
No. As far as Prop 13, I don't know that has that much effect on our city at this point in time. You know, I'm more interested in addressing city issues, and so our city issues deal with finance, they deal with accountability, they deal with zoning, they deal with affordable housing, and so we're faced with a crisis of lack of not only land, but also the lack of affordable housing. And so that is a huge issue. Los Altos is built up. We're 96% built. We have very limited land, and we have to get very creative in providing housing. And some of the developments that began in our city have faltered for financial reasons. I think the COVID-19 crisis contributed to those. And so we lack.
Scott, I'm going to have to stop you there because of time, but Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jonathan Weinberg, who's also running for Los Altos City Council District 4.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Great. So my name is Jonathan Weinberg, and I am running for a seat on the Los Altos City Council. I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I want to thank you very much for all that the Silicon Valley Democratic Club does for the Democratic Party and our region. By way of background, I've lived in Los Altos since 2009. My wife and I are raising our family in the city. I have been involved in city government for about 6 years now, where I serve as a member on the city's Parks and Recreation Commission. I have served as both the chair and the vice chair of the commission. I also serve on the Hillview Community Center Design Development Working Group. Community involvement has always been very important to me. I'm a lawyer by practice. My specialty is real estate law and trust and probate law. I also volunteer my time to give legal services and advice to members of the public who otherwise might not be able to afford an attorney. I have been endorsed by the Santa Clara County Democratic Party, by the High School Democrats of America, Santa Clara County chapter, by State Senator Jerry Hill, and by Assembly Member Mark Berman. The reason that I decided to run for City Council, and this is my first time running for elective office, is that I think that Los Altos is a liberal city, but that the current council has taken a conservative lean. And the consequences of that conservative leadership is it's a NIMBY mentality that shirks its responsibilities to combat our region's housing crisis, to protect and preserve our environment, and frankly is tone deaf to institutional racism and the need for social justice. I think that Los Altos deserves a city council that provides honest leadership, is responsive to the residents, and supports our businesses. I think that it's time for us to elect a council that works collaboratively to solve problems and conquer challenges. And I really believe that what Los Altos needs is new leadership for a better city.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. We'll open it up to questions. Michelle, do you have your hand raised, or is it?
Oh, yeah, I do. Jonathan, thanks for coming out. I ask you the same questions. What's your position on Proposition 15, Proposition 16? I was surprised to hear your co-candidate saying that they don't know that reversing Prop 13 on split roll is that important, because I live in Palo Alto and I am very intimately familiar with the area, and I can't imagine why the schools could not use more money, or the parks could not use more money, or the county ability to afford affordable housing could not afford more money. So I find it curious, and I would like to hear if you support the Prop 13 split roll proposition.
So I unequivocally support both Proposition 15 and 16. I think it was a mistake when we withdrew the policy of affirmative action in the state of California. With respect to Prop 15, this is something that's long overdue. I believe that the purpose of Proposition 13 was to allow families, homeowners, older adults who are on fixed incomes to be able to stay in their homes when real estate values were just starting to skyrocket, and have continued to do so. And that's a policy that I do support. I don't think that Proposition 13 was really ever intended to be extended to businesses, to business properties, to rental properties, to second, third, fourth homes. I am really, really impressed with the way that Proposition 15 is written. I think that its changes are incremental. I think that there are some important safeguards that will protect people who really do still need the benefits of Prop 13, states valued under $3 million, protections for family farm owners. That all makes a lot of sense to me. Look, Los Altos has one of the smallest business communities of any city in Silicon Valley. Almost half of our revenue is derived from property taxes. And we are living in very uncertain times economically. For Los Altos to recover from the crisis that we're facing, and that seems to be looming, we need the property rolls to come back into order. where Los Altos is not going to solidify its economy through business taxes or transient taxes. Los Altos' economy, and frankly our schools, is dependent upon the money that's raised from property taxes. And I think that it's time for property values to be normalized, come back into what the fair market really says they should be for properties that are not primary residences.
Okay, and that concludes our time. Thank you. We'll go ahead and launch the Zoom poll.
There's a minor typo in the poll. Do you want to read the question out?
Who shall the Silicon Valley Democratic Club endorse for Los Altos City Council District 4?
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
And if at any point you have any technical issues, please don't hesitate to message me or Jeff L. We certainly won't hold technical difficulties against you in our voting process. Okay. And we're going to move on to the final race for tonight, which is San Jose City Council District 4, starting with David Cohen.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I am running for San Jose City Council District 4, and one of the reasons I threw my hat in the ring was because our district had the last remaining Republican representing us on the council. I ran in the primary, proudly endorsed by the Democratic Party, while my opponent had sought the Republican Party endorsement and is now re-registered for the as a Democrat for the general election. I believe endorsed Democrats should support Proposition 15, should believe in rent control, should consistently be supporting investing in equity, and should put the interest of working people and building affordable housing over the interest of developers. I have worked for over 30 years in the Bay Area as a leader in the Democratic Party to elect Democrats locally and nationally. I'm the only candidate in the race endorsed by the Santa Clara County Democratic Party, by Dawn, by the APA Dems, by the Young Democrats, by BAMEC, by Planned Parenthood, League of Conservation Voters, Sierra Club, Labor Council, South Bay YIMBY, and the La Raza Roundtable. Endorsed by Zoe Lofgren, Ash Kalra, Jim Bell, Cindy Chavez, and dozens of other South Bay leaders. I would be honored to also have the endorsement of the Silicon Valley Democratic Club. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We'll open it up for questions. Alex?
Jenny. David, would you support implementing the responsible construction ordinance that was passed by the mayor and the city council in early 2020? Up to this point, it has not been implemented by the city, and I'm curious what you would do as a member of the city council.
The responsible construction ordinance?
Yeah, so basically what a responsible construction ordinance would do is it would really help eliminate types of wage theft that we saw even in the cases of slavery towers, where literal slave labor was being used here in the city of San Jose. So we want to make sure that the people that are coming into our city that are being able to develop and make tons of money are doing it responsibly and with a focus on making sure that our community is being taken care of.
Yeah, well, definitely. And one of the, it's really important that we are looking out for working class people in San Jose. One of the problems is we have a lot of regulations about how we treat employees in San Jose, but I don't think we've done a good job of actually enforcing many of these regulations. So, we need to put some resources into enforcement in San Jose for wage theft ordinances, for making sure we have the right, for enforcing the living wage policies, for enforcing the labor peace policies and the policies that we have on the books, let alone, continuing to put other policies on the books. We're also often deferring to, when we're approving development, we're often deferring to developers and not providing employee protections in order to give breaks to developers. And I don't think that's necessary in the developments that we're putting in San Jose. I think we can do better for our working class people in the city of San Jose.
Thank you.
And Michelle?
Thank you. So in your question, in our questionnaire about increased funding for sexual assault and intimate partner violence services, you talked about defunding the police. And I'm just wondering if these two things are connected for you. In other words, when your answer says, yes, I believe this is one of the areas where redirecting police spending could help. Are you saying you don't think that you would literally take police away from those cases and redirect the funding that was previously spent on those crimes policing, or are you saying policing generally?
No. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily connected. I think that they're important in separate from one another. But I also think that when we do a holistic review of what kinds of services, how we best provide support in all the different types of services that police respond to, that this is one of those areas that we should be looking at. What are the best ways to invest in this kind of call? And there's more that we need to do other than just police response to these kinds of services. There's housing needs, there's other types of services, social worker services, and other services we need in this area. And so my point is that as we reinvest money that may not always be best invested in police, that will free up money that we can invest in some of these other services in this and other areas.
I see. We've had a lot of candidates talk about taking police away and having other kinds of, responders like social workers to domestic violence. Obviously, that's, I think that's actually crazy and dangerous, since domestic violence calls are some of the most dangerous that police go on. And of course, it's a serious crime in which women are killed. So I just wanted to, and police officers. So I wanted to check in to make sure that you were not advocating.
I just think that there are lots of different ways to respond depending on the specifics of the cases. And there's a lot of other elements to preventing and working with victims than just the police response, I guess is what I was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. So if you're saying we should stop arresting poor people for being poor, and take that money or stop buying military grade equipment, police departments, and take that money instead of buying Humvees and put it into domestic violence, I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to say, I guess, in that answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David.
Okay, and that is time. Next up, we have Lam Diep.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lund Diep. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm the incumbent city council member for San Jose District 4. I'm not sure how you found out about me, but thank you for reaching out. To my opponent's comments earlier, yes, I am somewhat of a recent Democrat. And I'll start off the bat that I'm not going to be deeply dyed as blue as him, so I'll yield the ground there. But I am the son of immigrants. I've always been first and foremost an American, trying to make my way first in my family, to do a lot of things, helping my parents gain access to health care and paying their credit card bills and basic services that they and other limited English speaking communities did not have access to. And that is my background. And that is why I, as an adult, went into public service as a legal aid attorney, later as a council member, because I see these barriers and I have this ability to access them. And I want to bring resources to communities as such. such. I've always been independent minded and gone with my gut. To me, I was a Republican. I worked on the Obama campaign in 2012, and willingly so, proudly so, because I am somebody who will vote my conscience and call it as I see it, not towing to any central power. As a council member, I feel that we've been successful in moving San Jose forward after a number of tough years, pension battles and such. We're working on affordable housing. We're working finally on infrastructure in San Jose, and there's still a lot of hefty problems to go. COVID doesn't make anything easier, but I've learned a lot in the past almost 4 years now, and I feel I can put that knowledge to serving the people of San Jose, and I hope to do so for another term. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll open it up to questions. Alex?
Thank you, Jenny. I'll ask the same question that I asked Dave. Do you support implementing the responsible construction ordinance that was passed by the mayor and the city council in early 2020?
Yeah, so we voted for it. We passed it. If you're saying there's some sort of hiccup or delay in implementation, we can certainly urge the city to go more towards that. But I'll say across the board right now, there's a whole host of things that we're not doing that we should be doing. And mainly that's because we've diverted a lot of city resources to pandemic response. Of course, the city is not in charge of health. That's the county issue. But we did assume roles that the county asked us to do, like food distribution, trying to keep, build temporary shelters and work with the state government to just be nimble when bureaucracies aren't nimble. So there's a lot that we're putting on hold right now. Residents are frustrated across the board, and we're fighting for funding, we're fighting for efforts, and I would, because we did pass it through. So there's really no issue there.
Okay, and the reason why I was asking the question is because, as someone who you said as a city council member, someone that you said you want to be able to use what you've learned over this last 4 years to get stuff done in the city of San Jose. As a resident of District 4, I'm just telling you, I haven't seen anything get done on behalf of working class folks across the city, including, knowing that we have members of the city's council, yourself included, who have continued to support developers who have used modern day slavery here in the city of San Jose. So it's one thing to say that we're trying to work through this, but we've had these issues for years. Slavery towers happened 3 years ago, and has not been an appropriate response by our city council, yourself included. So that's why I was asking the question. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Michelle?
Okay. I have a question. First of all, I want to hear your positions on Prop 15 and 16. But second of all, in addition to that, I want to understand, so you were a legal aid lawyer and you registered as a Republican. Mm-hmm. And then even though you're a Republican, you worked for Obama, but you stayed a Republican. Sure. And you just changed your registration after the primary in March, sure, like 6 months ago or whatever. Sure. So why were you a Republican in the first place, and why are you a Democrat now? But
so
first,
which order do you want me to go in?
Prop 15 and 16. Those are yes or no.
So I'm on record as being opposed to Prop 15. I'm on record as being supportive of Prop 16.
So you oppose the split roll?
I am opposed to split roll. In the context of San Jose, we are putting, San Jose is underwater in the sense of we're not getting enough development, in terms of industrial land that generates money. We don't have enough of it. We need more commercial buildings and commercial space. And in recent years, we passed the measure, I forget the letter recently, I think it was Measure E, that has the tax on commercial sale of property over $2 million for affordable housing. We passed a commercial linkage fee, and I understand it's not as high as some might like, but it is a fee, and an additional fee of potential split roll at the statewide would, I think, put San Jose in an unenviable position. Statewide, I don't doubt that there are needs for education and all the resources that money would go to. But in San Jose, we're in a very unique place where we have more housing, more jobs. Although we need more of that, we have more housing than we do jobs. And it's the jobs, the commercial activity that pays for everything, that pays for the car towing, that pays for the police, that pays for the fire, the roads, so on and so forth. And so we are unable to do brilliantly what we should be doing, these very basic things. And I would like us to be brilliant at the basics. And so I'm trying to, as much as possible, attract the jobs to San Jose.
Okay, got it. So why were you a Republican?
So again, as I stated in my, what you could vote when you're 18. I registered as a Republican when I was 18. I'm born in Texas. My parents are Vietnamese refugees. It was President Ford that welcomed Vietnamese Americans to America, and it was then Governor Jerry Brown in his first term who said we don't want Vietnamese Americans. To me though, I didn't like. I'm not a dues paying Republican, like I'm not a dues paying Democrat. Across the board, as we go across the city, trying to garner votes, I see families, husbands and wives, one is Republican, one is Democrat, and they're trying to get mailers on both sides. To me, it's really about the issue. I don't think I will ever be somebody that just closes my eyes, and I've never been somebody who's closed my eyes and just votes down the line because they're red or they're blue or they're whatever.
But you stayed a registered Republican for 4 years of Donald Trump.
Yes, because I don't believe that Donald Trump represents the Republican Party. And I am disappointed very much in the people surrounding him. I think the Republican Party is made up of people, Americans, ordinary, regular Americans across the country who are disappointed and feeling like lost at this moment. As for my party change, I didn't announce it. I did that in March, and that's public record, I suppose, but I didn't put it out a press release. I didn't announce it in some sort of mailer or anything like that. So it's really not for political gain. It's really a personal choice, just as I've continued to just serve as a council member. And again, I'm surprised to be reached out to by you, because I didn't reach out to you saying, hey, I'm a Dem now, can I get your endorsement? I got an email. And that's that. So I am very much an Obamaite, whether you want to call that Democrat or not. I feel that it's very obvious through the past convention that the Democratic Party right now is the big tent party. You have the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs, and then I think you also have the Obamas and more centrist, and I'm kind of right there. As a registered Republican, I worked not just as a volunteer for President Obama, but I organized Las Vegas for him as a paid campaign staffer. So the whole hope and change thing, I'm very much into.
Right, but you stayed a registered Republican even after the head of your party said that the people in Charlottesville, the racists who killed someone in Charlottesville, were very fine.
Yeah, and again, I'm
that
not a
Republican.
That brings us to time, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off right there.
And change my registration the next day.
Yeah,
if we could please stop. Okay. That brings us to time. I do appreciate you both coming out. Just a little background for our endorsement process. We did hold a candidate forum for this race in January. WeTran was given our club's endorsement with David Cohen as the runner-up. This was prior to Lan joining the Democratic Party. We have changed our endorsement process for the general election, where we have invited all registered Democrats to come out and participate, recognizing that particularly with the pandemic, that it is difficult for candidates' voices to be heard outside of these types of Zoom meetings. And so we have created this, equitable process, or striving to be equitable in including all registered Democrats. We can now open the Zoom poll for this race. All right, and that includes the endorsements For tonight, the results will be announced following the meeting when we've had an opportunity to verify that those who voted are members in good standing. We will have a number of additional endorsement meetings starting, the next one being on Monday and then Wednesday and the following Monday. So 3 consecutive meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays starting at 7 p.m. We hope that you will come and join us again at our next endorsement meeting. Thank you, everyone. The meeting is adjourned.